Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Swing Good Torah. Okay, so the Torah often talks about the four Yesodos. So you'll see this, for instance, in RAMBAM, in the Mishnah Torah, or the Yad Chazaka, in Yesodei Torah. He'll mention the four Yesodos. This is mentioned in many other places. So he'll say that all matter, everything's created from these four Yesodos. So you have Afar, or I believe he calls it Eretz, which is like the soil, the dirt. You have Mayim, which is water. You have the Avir, or Ruach, which is the air. And then finally, you have Aish, fire. Okay, so then, if you look in a modern science textbook, they're going to give you the periodic table of elements. I'll try to bring it up on the screen. And I think we're up to, I don't know, depending on the chart. This one here has 118 that I'm looking at. I'm not sure what the one on the screen that I'm about to bring up has. But it's okay, there's a lot more elements than just these four. And, modern science textbooks will usually go, oh, the ancients believed in only these four, but we found a lot more elements. So it's a real stira, it's a real contradiction. But really, everyone's talking about the exact same thing, and I can explain how. So most elements, if we look on the periodic table, a lot of them are going to appear in a solid form. So for instance, things like iron or like silver, gold, usually, uranium, you'll find it in the ground, it'll be in a solid form. Then there's very common elements that are in a gaseous state. So like for instance, hydrogen, helium, things like neon, like the noble gases, argon, krypton, if you're a Superman fan. And then I think there's only two. There's very few that actually appear in a liquid state. I think it's like you just have mercury and I think bromine. And so why all these elements on the periodic table? Why is Rambam saying that everything's only made up of four elements? But I think it's really simple to clarify. So when the Torah is talking about the Yesodos, the four elementals, in the beginning of science, when it just began in ancient Greece, with the Greek philosophers, they also referred to the four, and I believe they called them the elementals. I forgot exactly what Lashon they used. And then as science grew, so modern science, when they started adding to the periodic table, then it becomes this very confusing thing. But I believe what's happening is the Torah is talking about a klal. The Torah is talking about like the klal, the general rule, is like these are the four main categories. And then the pratim, the details, are going to be what's on the periodic table. But more simply, really the Yesodos are exactly what the scientists are calling the four phases of matter. So, for instance, when you have the Yesod of Afar, this is going to refer to all the elements on the periodic table that we find naturally, sitting in the ground. So when we dig up uranium or we dig up cobalt or any of the other, elements, they're in their solid state. And we find elements in their solid state naturally. And where do we find them? We find them in the Afar. We find them in the soil. We have to dig into the ground. We have to mine for the minerals. Now then, when we find things in their liquid form, in their liquid state, they're going to be in the mayim. They're going to be in the water. And actually, scientists themselves will take water. It's good, it's very easy to dissolve things into the water. And you can make different things into the liquid state. You can make these elements into their liquid state in the water. Now then, we have the naturally occurring elements that are already in their gaseous form in the air, in the atmosphere. So you'll find things like hydrogen, helium, nitrogen, a lot of oxygen in the air. So all these elements that are appearing in their gaseous state are already in the air. So then what's Aish? What's fire? So that's what the scientists are going to call plasma, and this is when things are in their energy state. So if we look at the scientists will look and analyze what elements are in the sun. So they're in a plasma state. They're in the state of Aish, an energy state. So you'll have things, your hydrogen, your helium, going through your nuclear, fission and fusion reactions, your thermonuclear reactions, and they're now in that plasma state. They're in the energy state. And then thanks to Albert Einstein, a special, theory of relativity, he gave us the famous formula E equals mc squared. And we see that when things are in a state of matter, they're in the solid, liquid, or gas state. There is an equivalence. There's an equivalence to when they're in the energy state. So it's not a problem for all the Yesodos, all the elements to be into these two states. All right, it's pretty easy. I hope it clarified for everyone. And give me your comments. Let me know what you think. And I hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.